Centoya Brown Long, welcome home. We are so glad to have you today. Your presence is a gift to us. For those in chapel today who do not know you, what part of your story would you like them to hear today?
First and foremost, I'd like them to know that, like them, I'm a Bison. I graduated from Lipscomb while I was actually in prison, part of the LIFE program. I was sentenced to life in prison at the age of 16, and Lipscomb actually came into the prison when I was about 21, and I started taking classes through them. Really helped me develop myself, not just intellectually, but spiritually, emotionally, socially. Really made a big difference, a big impact, and by the grace of God, here I am. I was raised in the Baptist church, and whenever I was first incarcerated, I thought I had it figured out. I learned about religion, and I may have remembered a few scriptures from the pulpit, so I figured that if I prayed in a certain way and I did it so many times that whatever I asked was going to be given to me. I was pretty much treating God like a genie in a bottle. We all know that's not how that works. And so when I started seeing that the things that I asked for, namely not being sentenced to life in prison, it wasn't happening, my faith just started to die. And at one point, I know that you remember, I would go around the prison telling anyone who would listen that God didn't exist. I didn't believe in him. I knew that, being in the Lipscomb community and meeting with all of you, I was able to actually see how your faith made you different when it comes to treating people. I had always been treated as an outcast. I had always been treated that, I wasn't good enough because of the things that I'd done, but here comes this community of believers who just treated me as, I was one of them. And I belonged there in that community, and I was loved. Actually, there was nothing that I could possibly do to earn what he was giving me. And that was completely new to me. All he wanted was my time. He wanted my attention, the attention that I was given to this world that didn't love me back, to people who were constantly just trying to use me as a means to an end. If I could give just a fraction of that attention to him, I could experience fulfillment unlike anything that I had ever experienced. And he convinced me to try Jesus, and I haven't turned back since.
Have you had a chance to look back through those days when you were incarcerated and see ways in which God was working then?
Most definitely. Like I spoke about the community, when I first met you all in Lipscomb, that was the first time I had ever met someone, who professed to be a Christian that treated me with kindness and who knew everything that I had ever done, the worst things that I had ever done, and that was okay. It was okay. They still loved me. Just so many people along the way that I saw him working through. So many situations I could see him working through. Just the odds of me having the favor with some of the audiences that I've had, that's nobody but God. There's nothing that I've done that made me any different from the women who were incarcerated with me, but for some reason he chose to grant that to me. He chose to use me as a vessel. And now looking back and seeing, how all of that was woven into this perfectly crafted plan, it's mind-blowing.
When you're meeting with people as well who hear about your story of justice and injustice, what is the message that you want them to take away?
Namely, it's how we treat people, how we see people. These aren't just hardened criminals that you're dealing with. These are mothers, these are sisters, these are our friends. They're no different than anyone you would meet from day to day. But, we have all these things in our culture that kind of just separates us and tells us, these are just throwaway people. They're not. They're deserving of the same love and respect that we give to other people. And when we look at the message of Jesus, when he was here, he talked about the same thing. Like, his message is extremely applicable when we're talking about the justice system. That's justice, and that's mercy. That's how you're treating people, and especially for people of faith and who consider themselves as Christian, we need to be taking a particular interest in how justice is meted out in our country.
What can people do, Centoya, that will make a difference and be the justice that you're talking about, that will remind them that the people who are inside now are not throwaway people?
Well, the Lipscomb students are, they're in a great position to actually, take part in this work because they can sign up through the Life program and they can actually go inside of the prison and meet these individuals. That's when they can be opened up and see exactly, where do I fit into this? What is it that I can do? What are the talents, that God has given me that I can apply to help these people? It's our responsibility to ask Him to guide us, and see how we can get active. Anybody here can contact your representative. Everyone here in the great state of Tennessee, you have someone who represents you at the Senate, you have someone who represents you at the House of Representatives. You can begin talking with them about legislation that you would like to see presented. You can begin talking to them about some of the programs you would like for them to support. You can start your own program. The possibilities are endless. If you even work in the medical field, if you're studying how to be, a nurse or something like that here, you can actually take that skill and advocate for better health care for prisoners, because I can tell you right now, it's not great. There's no limit to how you can really apply yourself to making change within the justice system. But the point is, you actually have to apply yourself. You have to get in there and you have to find out, what is it that I could be doing? What needs need to be met?
So Scripture reminds us to hunger and thirst for righteousness, and you've touched on that a little bit. What does justice and hungering and thirsting for righteousness look like through the lens inside, and now that you're walking in the ways of Jesus, what does it look like now?
When I was inside, I wanted to be seen. I wanted someone to really just see us, see that, I'm a person. I'm more than the worst thing that I've ever done. I'm more than my mistakes. I can be more than that if given that opportunity. A lot of our leaders, they platform and they talk about how they're men of faith. And how their faith really informs their daily life. Well, let it inform your decisions when it comes to criminal justice reform, because it matters there as well. Really, that's what you long for. That's what you're really thirsting and hungry for, is someone to just take that faith that they have and actually apply it, put it into action where it really counts. So one of the things that we want to do is really amplify those voices in a way that we can take it into the public and to the mainstream and turn that message into something that can be used to create change, but using the voices of survivors.
So we can look at your life and know that God is not just present in the good, right? So if you had to summarize God's presence in the pain, how might you do that?
He's always there. One of the things that I've learned is, just because you start believing, you become a believer, it doesn't mean your life is going to be great. It doesn't mean, you're just going to have this wonderful life and you're never going to have issues. Quite the opposite. When you become a believer, you're going to have even more struggles. The enemy's going to be coming after you even tougher. And even though now I'm getting to live out my dreams and do all the things that I thought of, don't think that doesn't come with struggles, because it does. But the difference now is that I know that He has a plan already worked out for me. And I've seen how it worked out for me in the past, and I just trust that. And that's that faith in action. And, you're always going to have problems. You're always going to have something that you have to get through, but He is still there, even when you can't see Him working in your favor.